My 22F wife, 23F, is financially ruining us by trying to move to Japan. My wife and I have been together since high school and got married a couple of years ago. Since then, I've known of her plans to eventually move to Japan, which has been her dream. However, we've both graduated in 2021 and she's taking additional language classes in hopes of getting accepted into the JET program to be allowed to move. However, this has caused me to be our only source of income for the last year. We currently live in an apartment between the two of us, and I've mentioned to her getting a part-time job to help out, which she has gotten a couple for a small window of time, but none have stuck. Our rent is fairly high. My income can barely cover it with living expenses and her tuition. We've been living super frugal for the last year and I'm extremely frustrated by it. I've had to miss out on a lot of things because of this. I've brought this up on a couple of occasions, but she gets frustrated about it and says I'm being negative. She supposedly hears back this month if she's gotten accepted, but I don't know if we can afford her going over. I'll have to stay behind to help her afford it, and I'm worried about being so long distance. I'm also worried about what we'll do if she doesn't get accepted. How should I bring up my concerns without causing her to feel like I'm getting in the way of her dream? TLDR. Wife wants to move to Japan. She went back to school and we're paying living expenses and tuition on one income. Barely surviving and no idea how to pay for future expenses and not sure how to bring it up to her. I'm going to get this out of the way because I have no clue how you two ended up like this, and if you two just didn't think about this before getting married. I'm not trying to be mean, but it sounds like two people getting married young and not realizing what that realistically entails. Was this never talked about? You guys have seemingly had a year or more to seriously talk about the implications these would have in the long term of your relationship. And both of you just never did? You are getting in the way of her dream, and you should. Not in the sense of stop her, but in the way of making her realize she's choosing her dream over your relationship. That is also something you need to acknowledge. That for the past year this was about her dream and not the relationship. What was the plan? Have her go over first and then she carries the both of you wherever she ends up? You try to learn Japanese too and find a job? Did you leave out some important information like you're Japanese and a citizen or something? This entire thing so far sounds extremely poorly thought. You both need to talk about it, no matter how negative it's going to be, and trust me, it's going to be negative. Why is it only about her? Her dream? Her education? If she can't, or rather won't, see how this situation isn't overall positive, then she is being selfish. She can't simultaneously complain that you're being negative about her dream, while also expecting you to support her financially. I also don't understand what this program is all about, but it might be me just not understanding. She needs to take additional courses to be accepted. But you'll still have to support her financially even if she is? I'm a little confused. Will the program be compensating her at all if she's accepted and does get to move? Will she be there indefinitely, or is there a time limit on her stay? Has she actually even thought about the fact that your relationship will be long distance? There are so many questions. This seems like a not too great idea that was horribly thought out and wasn't properly discussed. It's also concerning that you're the breadwinner and she has no interest in talking about your financial situation. So she's going to live her Japan dream and leave you behind to send her your paycheck? It sounds like you and her have different life goals. You need to talk about what you want your marriage to look like and make sure your futures align. Because it sounds like you're going to end up paying for her Japan dream and a divorce when this marriage falls apart. She is gaslighting you and deflecting by saying you're negative. Voicing your concerns on logistics and finances is completely reasonable. If you can't have a simple conversation living situation and finances, then you and her shouldn't be married. And if that is the case, then it is okay. You're really young and there are other fish in the sea. I can tell you from experience that my second marriage is everything I wished for in my first marriage. So it can get much better. Why teach English in Japan? They will work her like a horse. She will be taking long hours of work and stress will keep piling on. It's not enough to even have a decent living in Japan, depends on what city. She is way over her head. Years ago, I had to relocate to another state because of hurricane damage to my town. 2 months later, I went back to school full-time, had a part-time job, a 20-plus hour per week unpaid internship, a 13-year-old kid and a home to run, meals to cook, homework, papers to white, and all the other things that happen in life, and we all had pretty severe PTSD and other medical issues. I graduated a year later with a 3.9. It's not easy, but it's possible. Why are you taking care of everything when it's running you into the ground? It's wonderful that you support her dreams and do your best to make them come true. However, they are her dreams, and she should be working for them as well. That's all part of being a responsible adult. You love her enough to want to see her meet her goals. She should love you enough not to expect or allow you to carry the entire burden. No. If she gets accepted, then you let her go. And as a going-away present, you present her with divorce papers. It's one thing to as a couple to plan and save and prepare to move, but she doesn't seem to care about you at all. If she doesn't get accepted, then you decide divorce, or she gets a job, and she needs to have one that provides income enough to pay for 50% of all household expenses and save money. Another thing I thought about. 1. Has she actually visited Japan? Does she really know the Japanese culture? Or does she know the culture from anime? 2. Has she ever worked for a Japanese organization before? They work long hours, but I don't think it's that bad for Jet. 3. Does she even like education? Or teaching? Jet is about teaching, and is a teach abroad program. I met someone before who claimed to like Japan, and she could quote me every anime show, manga, and other pop American Japanese thing. She finally got a chance to go to Japan. She hated it. She hated how cold the people are, how most didn't like anime, and how expensive and busy Tokyo is. Does your wife actually like Japan, and been there long-term in person? Or is she someone who just likes Japan based on what she sees in Western media? Jet does not require Japanese proficiency at all. She needs to have a good essay in English and pass the interview, and that's literally it. No resume padding required. She should definitely know that if she were adequately prepared for Jet. What does she do that shows she respects your needs and feelings and wants to be sure you're comfortable? As opposed to her only caring about what she wants and what you can sacrifice to get her there. Former Jet here. As others have said, you just need a bachelor's degree to be accepted for visa purposes. No language skills required. So IDK why she isn't working to save up for Jet. Especially considering she may go the first month or two without a paycheck. If you complete all the documentation, pass the interview, and have at least $23,000 saved up for startup expenses, you're golden. But for couples wishing to go together, it's a bit more complicated. You'll apply for a dependent visa and can only work part-time, up to 28 hours per week, with permission. From who? IDK. One couple I knew who came together only lasted a year. The non-Jet spouse I think was getting depressed from not working. The Jet salary is pretty good for singles, but not enough for couples, especially in higher cost of living cities. And you don't get to pick where you're placed. Also for general advice to anyone reading this who may be interested in JET. Do not make JET your life goal. It's 5 years max. What are you going to do afterwards? If you're passionate about teaching, it's easy to stay in Japan or hop to another country to teach English. If you find out that you actually don't want to be a teacher, what are you going to do? A lot of people don't realize that JET isn't just like a study abroad. It's a job. You're a teacher, working with kids. So many people who apply don't like kids' tears of joy, they just want a stepping stone into Japan. I could go on and on about this. DM me if you have any questions. Thumbs up. She needs to get her priorities figured out. You don't have to fund her move either. If she moves there without you, what's the point of staying married? Wait, she expects you to pay for her dream. What about both your dreams? She can take out loans for her school and then pay them off with a job. Stop bending over backwards for one person's dream. She is only caring about herself. I'm confused. Why you both got married when you have different goals? Especially so early in life. This is the moment before a disaster happens where you shut your eyes to avoid the pain. Wow, your wife is being incredibly selfish. Why would you want to remain married to someone who obviously has no consideration for you at all, and only cares about what she wants? However, we've both graduated in 2021 and she's taking additional language classes in hopes of getting accepted into the JET program to be allowed to move. However, this has caused me to be our only source of income for the last year. What the heck? Have you, or her, looked into the requirements for the JET program? Here's the requirements. As part of the general criteria, applicants must 1. Be interested in Japan and be willing to deepen their knowledge and appreciation of Japan after their arrival. Be motivated to participate in and initiate international exchange activities in the local community. Make efforts to study or continue studying the Japanese language prior to and after arriving in Japan. 2. Be both mentally and physically healthy. 3. Be willing and able to adapt to living and working in Japan, and commit to responsibly fulfilling their job duties for the duration of their period of participation. 4. Hold a bachelor's degree or higher, or obtain such qualifications by the designated arrival date. Applicants for the ALT position may alternatively hold a certification of completion of a 3-year course to teach at primary, elementary or secondary schools or obtain such qualification by the designated arrival date. 5. Be a national, not just a permanent resident, of the country where the recruitment and selection procedures take place by the time they submit their application form. 6. Be adept in contemporary standard pronunciation, rhythm, and intonation in the designated language. See note. And possess excellent language ability that can be applied accurately and appropriately. Have the ability to form sentences in a comprehensive and logical manner. 7. Not have participated on the program since the 2020 JET program year, inclusive of April 2020 arrivals, or have participated on the program for more than 6 years in total. 8. Not have declined a position on the program after receiving notification of assignment in the previous JET program year, excluding cases where it is accepted that the participant had a valid, inevitable reason for withdrawing. 9. Not have lived in Japan for 6 or more years in total since 2013. 10. Have a desire to proactively maintain relations with Japan, even after completion of the program. 11. Concerning entry into Japan for participation on the program, agree to reside in Japan under the status of residence stipulated in Article 22 of the Immigration Control and Refugee Recognition Act. 12. Be willing to obey all Japanese laws. 13. Applicants with a suspended jail term must have finished their period of probation by the time they submit their application form. Source: https jetprogram.org/n/eligibility/. Does she need to know Japanese? No. Per https jetprogram.org/n/fac01/. What if she doesn't make the jet? What if she doesn't get an interview? Or if she fails the interview? Then what? See https jetprogram.org/n/countries/ for the stats of being accepted. Reddit won't like this comment, but this situation is a prime example of why I'm against getting married at a young age. This is the perfect stage of her life to be doing this, and neither you nor your relationship should hold her back. If it does hold her back, she's going to regret it. Or possibly resent it for the rest of her life. You, on the other hand, should not be expected to work away and pine away in the hopes that your relationship will survive this. And in no way should you be working double time to fund it. The good news is that although you're married, you're not trapped. You don't have a mortgage or kids. You're still really young, and you should be free to take the paths in life you want to take. I'd let her go and consider splitting up. If the relationship is really meant to be, you'll get back together in a few years. And in the meantime, neither of you is held back or is wasting your years. So she's getting to live at her dreams at the detriment to you? That's not how marriages work. You help each other. You build each other up. You can't bankroll her living in another country when you can barely afford to live now. I think you'll need to sit down with her and talk out your concerns. She needs to contribute at least the majority of her move, which requires her getting a job. Well, from the comments, your wife doesn't understand jet requirements at all. She may have gotten you to cater to her every whim. But unfortunately for her, the government of Japan wasn't her high school sweetheart, so they're probably just going to pick the best candidates. Now that you know that Japanese proficiency isn't required, you are also aware that what she's doing right now isn't even for jet. It's just something she feels like doing. I'm not gonna say that knowing Japanese when moving to Japan is a bad thing. But she's playing you like a koto. She's either going to abandon you in another country while you support a woman you never see and can barely provide for yourself, or she will probably have some massive meltdown when her day of reckoning comes, and all of this was for naught. What hobby have you always wanted to try? Woodworking? Italian? Flamenco? Look up continuing education, non-credit classes at your local community college. Maybe she can try working 2 jobs next and also be your rock while you go to woodshop once a week. And talk about the stress of becoming a carpenter. Probably actually a good thing. Being used is not the same thing as being married. You can have a partner. You don't need to financially be responsible for someone when you are not in a position to be. You need to be firm and honest. She isn't in a position to move abroad. Don't co-sign on any loans for student debt. If this is really her dream, then why are you the only one funding it? Why hasn't she been able to hold down not even a part-time job? This sounds to me like she's taking you for a ride, my friend. So you will have paid for her tuition, living expenses, and now you will also pay for her to start a brand new life in Japan and stay behind so you can work to pay for her life there. This is a grown woman we are talking about with no dependents. I hope you see how unfair this situation is on you. You've had to go without to fund a whole grown-ass person that refuses to work. Run, my friend. Run.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.